Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. This is where accounting professionals just like you come to learn all the most efficient, powerful, abundant ways to grow their firm, sharpen their sales skills, and have consistent, increasing revenue year over year. I cover topics from pricing, sales, networking, objections, ideal clients, some marketing ideas, and really about how to increase your cash flow and profitability and set boundaries so you have the firm that you've always dreamt of. You're no longer giving away your time for free. You're no longer putting yourself on sale, and you are being paid for the value and worth that clients actually appreciate you for. So you'll learn tips and strategies as well as hear personal interviews from successful accounting professionals. This podcast will show you exactly how to create the firm of your dreams and the life full of abundance. Welcome back to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Our special guest is Shannon Weinstein. She is a CPA and she runs a 100% virtual practice serving small business owners looking to grow online. She does monthly accounting, CFO services, and tax strategy. And her unique approach has enabled her to grow her practice multiple six figures in revenue in just under 2 years. And during tax season, she spends it in Costa Rica. So I'm very excited to have her on the show today. And before we welcome Shannon to the show, I know and see so many accounting and tax firm owners discounting or having to justify their fees or devaluing their worth by doing free work, or getting into a price negotiation to grow their top line revenue. And it's not the best way to retain your legacy clients. So here's the truth. What I found are most firm owners are leaving thousands of dollars annually per client on the table by heavily discounting fees or doing the price negotiation thing or just doing the free work. And I'm sure on the surface it looks like a great strategy out the gate, but here's the problem. The clients get used to paying that, and then they won't ever pay your full price. The clients that I work with do the complete opposite. They grow their revenue by about 3 times where it's at today. They charge more, and they retain their legacy clients. So if you are sick and tired of discounting, getting into a price negotiation, or devaluing your worth, then make sure to book a call and let's chat about your current process. You can do so by going to theabundantcall.com. And again, I work with those who have some revenue, you've got clients in, and you keep giving away free information or discounting, and you are just exhausted, depleted, and think that maybe you should just go get a job. So if that's you, make sure to head on over to theabundantcall.com, and I look forward to talking to some of you. Now, let's welcome Shannon to the show. Welcome, Shannon, to the show.
Thanks, and thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you back. I thought our conversation last time was great. And can you share with everyone just, if they missed your last episode, who you are and where your firm is and all that?
Sure. So my name's Shannon Weinstein. I am a CPA and I'm based out of Connecticut, but I also spend part of my year in Costa Rica, which is super fun. And I started my own practice in early 2019, specifically serving online service-based business owners, and grew in less than 2 years. I grew my practice to multiple six figures.
Awesome. And I know that a lot of people listening are thinking, well, how did you do that? There's so much competition out there, and there's so many other companies like, H&R Block, and my clients are really interested in the lowest price, or, Jackson Hewitt. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Shannon, to the show. We're going to talk about how you set yourself apart from the competition. And that in Shannon's mind, and even in my mind, competition to us really doesn't exist. And how can we get to that level of mindset? And before the show, we were talking about, it's kind of like the little leagues playing the Yankees, but Shannon has a better analogy for us today. So that's what we're going to have conversation about. So those of you that are terrified of competition and that there's just so many other CPA firms around you, and there's no way you can grow a firm to six figures and beyond, then this is for you. So make sure to grab your notepad and pen and listen up. So, Shannon, when you first started your firm, and I mean, it's cool, you live part-time in Costa Rica and Connecticut, and I'm not sure if there's some tax benefit that I need to know about with that setup. But how did you get to the place to grow a firm to, over a couple 100,000 in just 2 years? And what did you do to set yourself apart from the competition? What are some of those unique things that you did internally, externally, as a brand that it might help someone here and that has gotten to a point now where you don't even see it as competition?
So the first thing I had to do was really shift my mindset that people aren't buying a tax return. People aren't buying a set of financial statements, even though we think that that's our deliverable. What they're buying is something way beyond that. And it's something that I had to learn what the value was of what I was offering them and what I was really selling them. And it's so important to really understand your customer intimately in terms of why they're hiring you, why they're looking for an accountant, and get much, much deeper than I just need a tax return done. Because truth be told, yeah, you can go to a storefront, you can go to your H&R Block, your Jackson Hewitt, you watch the Super Bowl commercials every year and people remember that they have to go do their taxes. But you can go to those storefronts if all you're buying is the paperwork. But when we stop treating what we do as a commodity and people realize that they're buying you, your advice, your counsel, your expertise, then not only do they pay you what you're worth, but then you also start to value yourself and start to see that nobody else can be you. And therefore, no one can really compete with you if your clients are clicking with the way you deliver that service.
Yeah. And I think the key ingredient in what you just said is no one else can be you. And I was just born that way. But I think a lot of us listening, Shannon, they're not born that way. We see it as, we compare ourselves to maybe other firms, or you're in these Facebook groups or other networking groups and you see colleagues doing so well, or you're listening to Shannon right now and you're like, how did she get to 200,000 in 2 years? And how does she live part-time in another country? And how is that even possible? There's so many CPA firms. I just don't get it. How is she not burnt out? How does she not, see herself as selling a paperwork as the deliverable, but yet you see yourself so different? So when you say you have to shift your mindset first, which we've had a lot of conversations here on the Abundant Accountant podcast about this topic, what was it for you that helped shift? Because there's maybe 5% of us that are born this way, and the other 95 really have some work to do in order to get to the place where you're not selling paperwork. There is no competition out there. And ultimately, no one else can be you. Every single person is a unique individual unless you are an identical twin.
Exactly. And I know that things tend to resonate with stories. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories on when I kind of realized this. So number one, I was starting to get DMs on Instagram. And that's where I'm the most active, is on Instagram in terms of generating leads and talking to potential clients, because I serve online coaches, course creators, consultants, and like every service provider under the sun online. And I think Instagram is a great place to find some of those folks. So I'm super active on there. I found myself checking my DMs and people were sending me either posts from other accountants, articles that they were reading online, or they were just asking me, hey, my accountant said this. And they were all asking me to validate the stuff they were sending me. They were saying, Shannon, is this real? And it was funny because my initial response was, why are you asking me? You're paying somebody else to answer this. You have an accountant, you have somebody. Why are you asking me? And compounded with that, I just got off a phone call today with somebody who was doing exploratory call with me to hire me. They actually just hired a CPA to do their taxes, but they were still asking me, like, we want you to do strategy, Shannon. We resonate with the way you explain things more. We like your analogies. We listen to your podcast. We want to have you available to be part of the team and to be part of those conversations. And you know what I actually realized, Michelle, was that's trust. That is trust. So I had the trust of these people that are talking to me online. I've built up trust with my audience, trust with these potential clients. And what I realized was that they were willing to pay for the commodity of a tax return for someone else, but they still sought me out for advice.
Because they weren't sure of the advice they got from somebody else. So you also, one other thing you offered was certainty, which I think certainty goes back to no one else can be you. And when you are so certain about your skill set, about being a CPA, about your knowledge, your education, and everything else, that certainty comes through where then they say, wow, I trust you. I'm willing to have someone else fill in the boxes, but I want you for my strategy.
Yeah. And that's where the real value is. And that's also where you can charge top dollar is for the strategy, because anyone can get a tax return done and have the paperwork filled out. And pretty soon people are going to have, people have their own TurboTax and other softwares that can do it for them. And people think that they can do this on their own. But what they can't do is a lot of the elaborate strategies and the judgment that goes along with that. And I think that once we realize as professionals that that's where we can best serve and deliver value and be a trusted advisor, which we can't say enough times about the accounting profession.
Right. Yes.
That when we fill that role as trusted advisor and not box checker, that's really where people start to trust you. People value you highly. And they also, honestly, from a client perspective, they start to treat you better and with more respect. Because if you are just seen as that box checker, they might blow you off for meetings. They might, move you around in their calendar or not respond to your emails. But if they see you as a key member of their team, they will prioritize you as well. So it actually permeates into your relationship with the client when they start to see you in a different light as more of that trusted expert, locking arms with the business owner as opposed to just a vendor.
Yeah. And I think it's 100% spot on. And to become the trusted advisor, it's not only building trust, but also having that certainty. So let's break that down. I don't know, 3 steps. We like the rule of 3 here at the Abundant Accountant Podcast. So I know you post on Instagram, and that's one of the ways that you set yourself apart from other competition. And that's how people find you. And I would say another way you set yourself apart from the competition is that you're willing to look at people's questions that they don't trust from their current CPA or accounting firm or tax advisor. And, I'm going to guess, schedule a phone call to explore if they'd be a great client for you. And then, from the trust and the value, then they switch over. What are some of the other ways that you've set yourself apart from the competition in the last 2 years? Like, what are some other tactical action steps that someone can take today to set themselves apart from the competition versus, being that box checker that might be at H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt or, using TurboTax at home?
So I would say this is also a kind of a paradigm shift in our profession, which is I give away advice all the time. I will give away free education, free advice all day long. Information is 100% free when you're talking about my Instagram, my podcast, whatever it may be. I'm here to educate. So I will talk all day about how much, let's say, an S-Corp election can save you money, or what tax strategies you can take advantage of, and try to explain it in a way that's digestible so that the average person can understand, oh, this would actually make sense for me, or I should ask my accountant about this. And I've had people come to me and say they've learned more from my Instagram page than they have from the person they pay for this information. And that's important to me because information should be free. Implementation is where the money comes. And I truly believe that, information, here's the thing. The accounting profession for the last 30, 40 plus years, accountants used to be the oracle, the walking encyclopedia of accounting and tax knowledge. They were getting paid for what they knew. They were getting paid for information. And with the advent of Google and all of these software products and all these tools readily available at our fingertips to be able to research these things, accountants are now not about information. It's about how to implement and strategize. So I'm 100% okay giving away information. I think there's a lot of hesitation out there for accountants to think, oh, well, I have to give them only so much because I have to hold back some because I want them to pay for this. I want them to pay for this information. And the truth of it is that, trust me on this, if you just give away all the information, you're not going to give away everything because
Right.
look at fitness. We all know broccoli is good for us. We all know we should drink more water. We all know we need to go out and exercise. Do we actually do it?
No.
No.
Or how many free YouTube videos are there on workouts and yoga and
Right.
this and that? But we all, personally, for me, I hire a trainer. I go to the gym 6 days a week with a group because there's community and I have accountability. So not only
Right.
are you helping with implementation, Shannon, but also it's about accountability. Because how many times, and maybe you can share a story actually, when you first started,
Yeah.
and you were going to give a client some free advice. And then you gave that piece of advice, and the client came back to you in the future, 6 months to a year. They didn't do anything. Did that ever happen?
Did it ever not happen?
Yeah.
Is that the story of everything is, oh, I don't want to hire you because you're too expensive, but I'm going to go and Google this and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Or I give away a lot of advice in coaching programs and things like that. Like I'll jump on my online course, my coaching, and I'll say, get a separate business bank account, set up a bookkeeping piece of software, and hire a bookkeeper to do this. You know, I'll give all my recommendations that I'm sure any accountant listening is like, yep, like at a bare minimum, separate your business and personal, do the foundational stuff. And I'll tell them that all day, all night. But I know everyone listening is like, yeah, they never do it. Why? Because they don't have anyone overseeing it. They don't have accountability.
Yep.
They hear you and they know what's good for them, but they just, for whatever reason, don't want to do it. And I will tell them all day, all night, you know, this is what you should do. And I know they won't do it unless they have that accountability. But what's interesting is the effect of you, even though it may seem like, from what I'm saying, well, then what's the point of me sharing this if I know they're not going to listen to me?
Yeah.
Well, here's the point. If you keep saying it, what will happen is something will happen in their business life where they realize that you were right. Something will happen, whether it's a big IRS bill or tax bill, you know, the painful nights of like sobbing with tears over your bank statements while you're trying to highlight them, figuring out what's going on because you didn't separate anything. Like something will trigger an emotional response with them. Well, they'll go, I should have just done what Shannon said. Where is she? I need her. Like they'll realize that your counsel is valuable, and they will realize that they really do need you because you were there for them to give them that advice when they needed it. Even if they didn't follow it, they'll remember that you try to provide it.
Yeah. And I think
those are the clients you want.
Yeah. And those are the clients you want. But also, I think when we talk about free advice, like I met a gentleman a couple weeks ago. He listens to the Abundant Accountant podcast. I've never personally worked with him. But my free advice line in the sand is this podcast or my blog. If you want to craft your sales and have me, you know, figure out your pricing and do all of the other elements for the time you get the lead or the time someone calls your firm and says, how much do you charge? Well, you know, if you want to get in the nitty-gritty detail, that's about implementation and strategizing. And that's what Shannon was talking about, right? That's what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
So,
information-free implementation and individualization costs money.
A lot of money. And you pay a premium. And the reason why is that when you strategize and you implement and you work with these clients, they actually do what you tell them to do. Or they show up to their meetings on time and they don't cancel, and all of these other things that when there's a synergy in the value exchange that's very high, there's a high implementation and high, what's the word I'm looking through, like completion rate of getting it done and doing the work. Yeah, they're obedient. Exactly. It's like treats. The more money you pay in human being, it's like a dog getting a lot of treats.
It is. And it's also like, I mean, if you paid, this actually happened to me. I would miss my workouts all the time if it was just me and my virtual workouts. But like, if I hired a trainer at $150 a session,
Yeah.
you bet your butt I ain't missing. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'm not wasting $150 per hour. And the funny thing is, it ends up being worth that money because it's certainty that you'll execute.
Yeah.
And when you pay attention. You show up differently. And, you could say that that's a manipulation, but it's really not, because it's a lot of psychology and it's a lot of just an expression of your commitment. And I think that when you charge your rates and we always say charge your worth, right? But
yeah,
what am I worth?
Whatever you charge.
Right. But it's all about if you demonstrate that you're of high value through your pricing or however you'd like to do that through your services, right? Then you'll have your clients show up a little bit differently to come work with you. And there is a bit of that, responsibility you have as the accountant to set the tone and set that scene for them so they know what they're signing up for by enrolling with you. And I think that we tend to commoditize ourselves, honestly, in the industry by thinking that, well, I'm just doing a tax return for them, or here's a great example. I'm just doing an S-Corp election, which is a form 2553, which is about 4 pages long, and it takes me all of 10 minutes to fill out. Who am I to charge a couple $1,000s for this? This is based on, it's only a few minutes of my time. Well, guess what? Who cares what the effort is? I think we talked about this last time, actually.
Yeah.
Was like, we're not charging on effort, we're charging on value, guys. That they see an immense value in the ability of you to do that, especially if it's a late S election and you got to write a little doctor's note. So it's really important to, like, always preaching value yourself. But I think if we go back to how I was able to build my practice up, it really comes down to setting yourself apart from the competition by just honestly, instead of going outward and looking at what other people are doing, you go inward and say, how can I show up as a trusted person? How can I deliver value? What do I have in my arsenal in terms of knowledge? Like, how can I show up and be present on these different outlets and share my knowledge with people freely? Because I have an Instagram, I have a text message marketing, I have email marketing, I have a podcast, and I have multiple hundred people on each platform. Instagram, I think I have 3,000 something followers, and everyone is super engaged. With an accountant, go figure, because they're always learning something new or getting their curiosity provoked by an idea. And just that one comment on Instagram, just that one little piece of engagement to get them thinking about accounting. Now, when they hit tax time or when something comes up, they get an IRS letter, they're going to go back and say, oh, I should talk to Shannon about that because she posted about that whenever, or they just think of me as a resource because of that.
Yeah, you'll become top of mind.
Right. Top of mind. Exactly.
Top of mind. And that's really, for all of the CPAs and EAs and tax pros out there and geniuses and resolution work and CFO services, like for all of you, when you get stuck in the value department or the discounting department or the doing free work department, and you're like, I'm sick of this. I really need to fix this. I am absolutely sick of it. I hope you think of me. and that's why I'm here. And that's why, like, I have Instagram. I post on LinkedIn. If you're on my email list, you are getting really great stuff. And, a gentleman, I don't even think I finished what I was going to say earlier, but I met him at an event a couple weeks ago, and he said, Michelle, I've sold $45,000 in extra services by implementing everything you've shared on every single one of your podcasts. And I was like, that's awesome. But he's one of the, 5% that will actually implement if you share everything and all your information. And anyone who's implemented things from this podcast is making more money because I've heard from you. Or I've read the reviews and you share that with me and I'm so grateful. And then I also know there's going to be some of you, like Shannon was saying, that need a coach, that need a personal trainer. You need a personal trainer for your top line revenue in your business. And we'll work on our biceps, we'll work on the letter S, we'll work on the letter A, we'll work on the letter L, and we'll work on the letter E, and we'll work on the letter S so they grow really big without steroids. Yeah. And again, it's about having that certainty in the results that you deliver. And I have 100% certainty. Shannon has 100% certainty for her clients. And when you have that level of certainty for the two of us, we don't really see any competition. I don't see any. I think there's other people that are helping with sales, not marketing, sales, the conversion piece. There's probably a lot of people. Sales is the thing in business for a very long time. This is not anything new, but they're not me. They're not fun. I've been told I'm like a really great female drill sergeant. I make sure you get stuff done. And I think for you, Shannon, it's the same thing. And your clients appreciate that and they get the results and you have the certainty to deliver those results. So thank you for everything that you've shared today. I just want to ask you, though, is there anything that popped up in your head that you want to share that we haven't talked about yet in order, and what you did to really work on the mindset piece and set yourself apart from the competition to get to the point where it doesn't really exist for you? And how, if someone asks why are you so much more expensive than H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt or me just doing it on my own, what do you say? Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? One was the analogy we talked about before, which was, why are you so much more expensive than, H&R Block? And I'm like, well, look at a ticket to a Little League game and a ticket to a Yankee game. That's what we're dealing with. But also, and use whatever analogy obviously would make sense for your customer. That's another thing. But, you can go to Minute Clinic to get checked out, or you can go to your PCP who actually knows your whole history and knows, what to expect and has certain training. So, when you're comparing these things, they're really not comparable because it's a different whole level of service. And the other aspect that you asked about was really like looking at competition. And we all fall into the comparison trap because I think we all end up through social media algorithms or otherwise, we end up being surrounded by people who are doing very similar things to what we're doing. And it's very easy to fall into a comparison trap. And I would just say, put your blinders on. Don't think of them as competition. Think of them as inspiration. And also really hone in on what is your unique value. What do you do better than anyone else? And by the way, there is no better way to find that out than ask people who follow you, ask people who are loyal to you and say, why me? What sets me apart? What would you say are my distinguishing qualities? And listen to them, because the best way to find out how you're perceived is not just to look in the mirror, but ask someone who's looking at you and figure out what the perception is that you're putting out there. Because market research is amazing to find out, and listen to people, listen to what they're saying and why they're going with you or how they found you, because you'll get a feel for their values and what they're looking for in their service provider, so if you can serve them.
I love that. Well, thank you, Shannon, so much for being here with us again on the Abundant Accountant podcast. Hopefully you're a regular veteran here and show up and deliver so much information. The key word, right? Some information to other, firm owners, or maybe you're stuck in a job and you want to go out on your own, just like Shannon did, and have that freedom and flexibility to live anywhere in the world and have a remote firm, and it's completely possible. So implement some of what she said today. Don't just sit around. If you need accountability, you know who to call. I'm your female drill sergeant. I'm more gentler than I think like the Navy SEALs, but you'll get stuff done. And Shannon, will see you in the next episode in the future. Again, thank you for being here and contributing to others. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, as always.
What an amazing episode with Shannon Weinstein. And, there was so much goodness in there. But I think this exercise that she talked about at the end, why don't you pick 10 clients? Give them a call and ask, why me? What sets me apart from other accounting firms that you've talked to in the past before hiring me? And start to see what clients say about you, because this little thing she said at the end is a huge mindset shift. It will help improve confidence, and it will help really for you to see what they value in you. So that's my biggest takeaway for each of you, because like Shannon says, we can give information for free, but when it comes to implementation, that costs money. And I want you to do some market research on the clients that are paying you, what you actually want to get paid, not the discounted fee, not the one where you had to just say you'd make a deal because you were desperate for a client. Let's not ask those. I want you to ask the clients where you know they see something in you, but you're just not really sure what it is. And I would do that with 10 clients because, like I was sharing in the beginning, before I introduced Shannon, the truth is that firm owners are leaving thousands of dollars annually per client on the table because of heavily discounting their fees, which devalues their worth because we end up doing free work, not giving free information, but doing the free work. Or we get into a price negotiation just to lure clients in, or we do that with our current legacy clients so they won't leave us. And I know it's a common marketing or sales tactic that has probably been around for a while and looks good on the surface, but it is not the way to get high paying, high valuable clients that you can do strategy, implementation work for. It's actually the worst thing you could do. And it's exhausting to run a 6-figure or more firm based on an outdated tactic like that. So the clients I work with are increasing their revenue by as much as 3x by doing the exact opposite. They charge more, they retain current clients at high fees, and they also retain their legacy clients. So if you're sick and tired of discounting, getting into price negotiations, doing this free work, and then realizing that, wow, I just really devalued myself and it's cutting into my profits, then make sure to register and book a call with myself or my partner, Denise, over at theabundantcall.com. We will peel back the curtain, the layers, the onion, whatever you want to call it, and we'll get to the bottom of why you're stuck, why you're not like Shannon doing 6 figures or more. And I know 6 figures is anywhere between $100,000 and $999,999. But it is possible for you to generate 3x your revenue, retain those clients, and never have that scarcity brain where you're like, I can't lose anybody. I need to get these clients right now. So if you want to explore that and the possibilities that exist, then head on over to theabundantcall.com. And I will see you all in the next episode. Have a beautiful day.